To be quite honest, if you're meant to ask me 7 years from now, backward, I wouldn't say that, I had this dream. By 1994, during the genocide against the Tutsi, I think it's one of the motivations that actually be like, you know what, you'd be like, I cannot allow myself to probably fail because, I owe this to myself, I owe this to my family, I owe this to different people.
What are some of the factors that led to Jumia leaving the Rwandan market?
I mean, the first day we launched our product was on January 6, 2020. In the very morning, we're actually not ready, but we had communicated to the media houses and all. So we saw a story up in media houses of even in the country, like, shit.
When you look at that moment, they just left the market. Were you thinking about, okay, Rwanda still needs an e-commerce platform?
We've all been in this situation where you're stuck at home or in the office. You have no time for your daily shoppings. And all you need in such a case is a reliable partner who'll do it as if it was yourself. In other words, all you need is Vuba Vuba.
How did you come up with the name Vuba Vuba?
It's actually, quite funny because...
Albert, thanks a lot for making it, man.
My pleasure, is
Yeah.
Always good to catch you up, man.
Yeah, for sure. First things first, how did you come up with the name Vuba Vuba? I remember when I read the article that Vuba Vuba is launching, e-commerce platform, food delivery in Kigali. I thought to myself, I was like, who came up with this name? Because it's so perfect for the kind of work that you guys are doing. So how did you come up with the name?
Well, that has actually been a very long discussion and all around.
Yeah.
Because we had about 10 names, right? This time I'm starting a startup, but then I want to be international.
Yeah.
Okay. What should we call it? And we find out that almost different names are taken and all. So I was seated with about 3-4 people, just discussing. And actually the name itself didn't come from me personally. So you're having a discussion and what should we do? And then within a bit of conversation, we're like, what is someone looking for? I mean, if you go to the market or something, byiza bitandukanye, different names in Kinyarwanda. And then one of the colleagues was I would actually want my order or anything delivered as soon as they can. And then someone came up with the as soon as they can or fast. So and the colleague was why can't we make it Vuba? So she said Vuba. And then, crafted actually Vuba Vuba sounds more adequate than Vuba itself, right? And then Vuba was already taken by, I think there's a company called Vuba Vuba Technologies. And then, came up with Vuba Vuba as a name. And I'm glad you like it. To me, if you're ordering it, you need quality.
Yeah.
And you need delivered ASAP, which is, Vuba Vuba.
No, I mean, that was genius. That was genius for sure. I'm a big fan of branding and marketing, and as soon as I heard that, I was like, perfect. It's perfect for that business. Kudos to the team for that. So let's get into it. Jumia, one of the largest e-commerce coming out of Africa, raised tons of money, leaves the market of Rwanda, right, which gives space for Vuba Vuba to be able to come up. Can you tell me a little bit? You were an early employee at Jumia Rwanda, and you elevated to become the country manager of Jumia Rwanda. So what are some of the factors that led to Jumia leaving the Rwandan market?
I mean, so when you're running a business and you're coming from not a different country, actually a different continent, and you're running a business to sometimes a place you've never been, it can be frustrating to the employees and to the investors and everyone. And then when you're raising money, when you're raising funds, we've got to be very keen about who we raise from. So Jumia started, I think when they started business in Africa, they did Nigeria, Morocco, Kenya among the big markets, and then started with what they usually call small markets. Rwanda, Tanzania, Cameroon, among other markets. And then, when they started raising funds, left and right, and, you raise money from VC company and raise money from different sectors. So they happened to raise money from one of the guys who don't really care about how healthy the business is. All they cared about was the top line of the business, right? So they invested a lot of money, and then return of investment was not as expected. And Rwanda being called a small market, as they usually say, among others, so the pressure became quite high. They went public, and then they raised their first IPO. So the pressure was quite high, and that they had to sort of close a few countries because the overhead as well was quite heavy. So they had to close a couple of markets: Rwanda, Tanzania, and then Cameroon. So they focus on sort of bigger markets because if you look at the cash burn by then, since inception of the business to date, it was very heavy, and it wasn't really promising in terms of return of investment. And it was the pressure was quite high from investors. So I would say it was a way to release the sort of pressure and focus on some of the markets, which they did. As you're saying, it was an opportunity for ourselves and different other players as well to take it and actually run things as we had to, as we know actually how to do that. As you're saying, we had different positions in Jumia, from operations to being the country manager. It was a very good learning experience. I would say, we wouldn't be where we are now if we hadn't get that experience actually. Myself and the team, running Jumia for a couple of years. With their exit, it was a very good opportunity for a local made product.
Yeah. So when you look at that moment, they just left the market. Were you thinking about, okay, Rwanda still needs an e-commerce platform? Or were you saying, okay, these guys, the way they were implementing these things, some of the things they did not understand about the local market, so they didn't have the context. What was it that made you feel like if we created it will be more successful than what they tried to do? To be quite honest, if you're meant to ask me 7 years from now, backward, I wouldn't say that high stream. It came with a need, right? With a need because there was a gap in the market to be fulfilled, and I think entrepreneurship itself is quite funny, and you don't know where it usually comes from, and with that being said, it was some of the points as well. We spoke about market where they started in Nigeria, Kenya, and all. So most of the ideas, you could come up with an idea that I know should and could work in Rwanda, but then, raising my voice on top of these other countries and all was very hard. So I remember back in the days, I used to go through the country manager of Kenya, and I'd be like, I need to do this in Rwanda, but can you actually incorporate it? And it comes from, the Kenyan side, because it was looked as a bigger market. So I've become country manager since 2017 to 2019 until I exit the market. And I would say probably part of my ideas, things that I've implemented was probably 50% or even a bit lower than that. Because of that, because you've run an idea in Morocco and you think it's actually going to be the same on the whole continent. So I would say a bunch of ideas. By starting for Vuba, I was very sure that some of the ideas that are actually going to be game changers because of having the ownership and everything being decided by ourselves. This time, however small something is, you need approvals from 3-4 different levels. So part of ownership and the team, being the team, and the team is quite confident. They know that from every whatever level, entry level you're in, from the customer service to being a brand ambassador, agent, marketing agent, and all. If you know that you have an idea, as long as you back it up and come up with a good way of implementing it, then you go ahead and do it. So that's sort of empowering the team. Is one of the things that we didn't have before that we had when we started. Of course, I was saying it's definitely one of the winners Yeah. So I want to understand a little bit. So they exit the market. You're faced there with a need, and you have the expertise because you understand the market. You've been operating in that business. So what happened? Did you raise funds to be able to start that, to kickstart that new business? How did you get that off the ground? Because this kind of business requires a lot of capital in the beginning. Drivers, you need a platform, you need people working on customer service. How did you pull that off?
It's actually, quite funny because, we haven't raised. And to be quite honest, when, this question, they usually ask entrepreneurs, like, how much did you start the business with? And related. So it was, this is where I go back to the team. I'm like, every time I look back to the team we started with, I'm like, thank you guys for believing in me. Because most of what I had was an idea. I met my co-founder, Kaneza Innocent, someone who'd been in the tech industry, fintech, and all for a very long time. So we sat in one of the restaurants in Kigali, had a conversation, and like, you know what? Let's get into this. How much we had was actually not worth starting such a business. So we didn't raise funds. I had to go back, settle the team. Like, this is something we've been doing. Made a commitment to the team because I believed that it's actually very much doable, right? So we raised and not raised. We were actually gathering different funds together or self-funded the business. And as you're saying, it's more of the tech side. Saying I'm my co-founder, someone who's been in the tech industry for a very long time. Myself, I have a little background in the tech as well. So we had to literally build from the client app to the backend platforms and all, ourselves with about 2 developers. And we believe as well that the first customer and the second one is actually the right investor for a business. If you can convert from 1 to 2, and the way B2C business works is your customer is usually your brand ambassador. If the investor is part of the business, then it actually works. So we didn't raise fund, and to be quite honest, when we started, we probably had funds to run the business for about 3 months, and here we are, almost 4 years now, from a capital from about 3 months.
Still in the game. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about funds and raising funding, which is one of the biggest things that happens in any startup entrepreneur these days in their journey to building a company. Jumia, again, let's go back to that. There, largest company in Africa, right? One of the unicorns. Definitely. Raised tons of money, but they're struggling. We're seeing news in the news every single day, them struggling to earn money. And we're seeing a lot of other companies shutting down after having raised tons of money. You were here as a company that bootstrapped. So I want to understand, what's your view on raising funding as opposed to bootstrapping your business?
I think running a business, it's the first thing is actually about human capital. I like what Bag is doing now.
Yeah.
Is, in the very moment you have the right team, by right team I mean not qualification in terms of degrees and all, but the right team, people who actually understand the core of the business. You call vision and actually what you want to achieve, not the written ones, right? Not a mission vision that is written everywhere, but people actually passionate about that, right? Where we are now is not about me. It's not about Kaneza. It's actually about the team. People who understand that, trying to solve a problem, and you being employed, you being an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. What matters is actually where you're seated. Are you making good use of the time that you have? So I believe it really depends, right? So there's a B2C business and B2B and all these, but the moment in a B2C business model, I believe raising funds should not be the first tile event, first priority. But what should be the priority in a B2C business or a C2C as well is actually strengthening your operations. Because at least from experience, what I've been doing before and now, if I try and compare both of these stories, founders, CEOs, and all, the very moment you step sort of out of your operations and start, raising funds and all, you have funds in ready for expansion and all, but at the very moment your customer and your consumer is actually not satisfied with the product, to me that's literally a beginning of failing, especially in the B2C and then e-commerce, internet. Remember, you're not actually interacting with the customer, right? And then you have the numbers, who has dropped off your services, who's not ordering anymore. But then it's actually very hard to interact with them directly. So if you're just having a shop, physical shop, every customer who steps in, and there's a way to interact with them and actually know what to change and adjust, which is a bit different from an online business. So I believe, first thing should be strengthening your operations, making sure that you have processes in place that actually work. And after that, of course, raising funds is, we haven't raised, but then eventually we're going to raise with expansion and all. So, but I think, as you said, some of the startup closing and all are because, you start raising before you have processes in place, right? Processes that are going to help you manage actually the funds raised by then. So I think, part of Jumia and some of the companies as well, the one step comes before the other, while it's actually, to me, should actually be, the opposite. You first work on your processes and then you raise, because eventually you're going to raise, all of us in the startup industry.
So let's talk a little bit about Vuba Vuba, right? What do you believe is you guys' uniqueness in terms of delivering the service that you're offering to the people, to your customers? What do you believe that is something that you've understood from the experience of Jumia and try to, let's say, mitigate some of those risks that they faced and that has led to your success today?
A couple of these.
Yeah.
First being transparent to the end consumers, right? Mm. So I remember back then there's these very exciting campaigns that people want to run. You're like, we're going to have 30 minutes delivery time or probably money back guarantee and all. And then when you actually sit back and analyze the type of environment we're working, like is this actually going to be feasible, right? I know eventually that every time I sit in a restaurant, after placing my order, I've usually been told that it's going to take 15 minutes and they end up taking 35 and 40. I'm like, what am I actually committing to? So the first thing we really worked on and still working on is being transparent to the consumers. So every time, let's say, there's this crazy day that we usually have in business, the Muganda Saturday.
Yeah.
So everything is closed down by until 12 p.m. So every time we open at 12, we know that actually the traffic is going to be crazy. And what we usually do is we pre-communicate and be like, if our deliveries are going to take a bit longer than usual, we pre-communicate that and make sure that, people don't over-expect and we don't over-promise, because in this industry, over-promising and under-delivering is one of the failures that people usually have in this business. And then, two is fast decision making. Back to when we launched, give a quite sort of quick story.
Yeah.
We launched, the first day we launched our product was on January 6th, 2020. It was as planned, but then on the very morning, we're actually not ready, but we had communicated to the media houses and all. So we saw a story up in the media houses of in the country, like, shit.
In New Times.
Oh man, the product was actually not ready. So I'm going back to itself. We had a decision to make. We're like, do we go live now with the product that is 20% ready? Do we let the story be read by different people and actually wait for 3, 4, 5 more days? So it was a sort of tough decision to make. But then the quicker we made a decision to actually go live and keep improving on how we go, I think the faster we make a decision in this industry, if I go back to probably back then, it could have been one email to a person and then wait a day for a response and another email and all. So the faster you're able to make a decision on your own business, the better. And currently, some of the success stories that we have is because, we sit probably 5 people in a room and come out of the meeting with about 6 things that we're going to change, and that is going to be immediately, right? And learn from it, improve, and also I think that is the second sort of win point that we have. Third is having a local tech team. People really understand if there's a development that needs to be done, people actually on the ground, and they understand the urgency, right? And that itself goes back to the team as well, not only the developers but the rest of the team as well. Every time there's a decision to be made, I'm pointing out to the tech team because more of the features comes from the tech side, and then we deploy them operational wise. But having a local tech team is actually one of the winning points as well that we currently have, something we didn't have before.
Yeah. I want to take a step back a little bit. I want to fully understand who is Albert before all of this. What are some of the things that in your life, some of the key events that happened in your life that you believe now, when you look at it, when you look back and you say, these are some of the things that shaped me into the man I am today, the entrepreneur I am today? What are some of those things? Could be clubs, could be friends, could be things you were watching. What are some of those things?
I mean, things that really shaped me. I'm the last born of my family. So when I grew up, I have to be quite honest, most of my family members are not really into entrepreneurship. This where we usually grow, you go to school and you're like, when I graduate, I'm going to apply for this job and all these things, right? So say, at least in this space, not really many family members are in this, because even when I was actually about to start this, from my direct family, I didn't really have approval. We were like, why don't you take an opportunity that comes to actually work in another country, with Jumia and, well, like, everything has a start, right? Everything has a start. But it, the story of Rwanda as well. Rwanda itself as a country has a story that is sort of complicated left and right. But say by 1994, during the genocide against the Tutsi, I think it's one of the motivations that actually be like, this is something that we need to build. And you'd be like, I cannot allow myself to probably fail because, I owe this to myself, I owe this to my family, I owe this to different people. Yeah, you feel like you sort of have a debt to the country, to, different people, and you're like, whatever is going on, I just cannot, let these fail or go below this. But then comes the team as well, right? By then, when I was looking at with the Jumia exit, I sat back and actually looked at the team. People are going to be jobless by then. So like, we've learned, and the same conversation we had with them. Like, we've been running this for about 5 and more years. How do you guys think? Do you guys think that it actually works? And at the very moment, we're like, this can work. Like, going to put in whatever it takes to actually make sure that it works. And it was more of, this time you get ownership of doing your own things. Sometimes, proving someone that an idea works can be a motivation itself. Wait, you guys thought this cannot work? Be like, I'm actually in the right position to actually prove that, it works pretty well. And same thing applies to when we're growing up, right? So there's a story of when I got my first job. My first employment was with Tigo, a company called Tigo back then, in the call center. So I heard that it was the recruiting agent. I had no clue about that. I think their office was actually somewhere in Kachiro, and I just showed up. I didn't send an email. Just showed up to the office of the one of the companies that actually outsourcing he was outsourcing the call center too. And then that woman looked at me as a crazy man. Like, are you mad? What are you here for?
Yeah.
You don't know the usual application that go with this. Like, I know I don't. All I know is I'm a very good candidate about that. I stepped out of the office, had no clue that I'm going to be called back, but I think she was impressed because about a week later, I was called to start that. So I think I'm that type of person who plans, yes, but I don't spend much time in planning and though actually implement and learn from it, implement again. So that's a little bit of how I run the thing.
I want to talk a little bit about B2C. I have a lot of friends who are building companies, myself as well. With BAG, we're building in the B2C and B2B market. And there's a lot of challenges with B2C. Number one, in Africa, most parts of Africa, disposable income is really, really, really tough. In our space, we're trying to deal with students, getting them into jobs, getting them to be upskilled. If we're trying to sell them courses, the number one thing that we receive is, how can I afford that? I don't have a lot of money. And that transcends to through a lot of B2C products where it's just really tough to do that. And you have to invest a lot in marketing, acquiring users. Your customer acquisition cost is always really high until you can, make back that money. So I want to understand from your side, what are the realities of building in B2C? What are the things that you're learning about this space? And yeah, that could be useful for entrepreneurs in the space as well.
I mean, as you're saying, I think the B2C model is one of the toughest because everyone is your boss, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things is you've got to be one as humble as you can to take different inputs. Whatever you think is actually doesn't make any sense, but you still act as if it's actually making sense and you analyze it and make probably good use of it. But I also think in a B2C business, marketing works well, but the best marketing tool to me is actually better operations and delivering. The very moment in a B2C business and you overpromising and under delivering, then that's totally, however good your marketing is. I usually discuss this in the team as well. Like different, we actually most of the times we make our marketing people look crazy. People, whoever is doing your marketing does a good job, but then, we are under delivering. That's one of the things that really come in the B2C business, as well as really understanding what you're doing, because most of the times you've got to outsource and actually partner with different people for to deliver a common solution or solve a problem, right? If I give an example of probably BAG, as you're saying, you're listening a course probably, but then you note the lecturer, right? So you have different people as well who are contributing for the success of that. If I look at my type of business, the sellers and restaurants are doing the biggest of the job, right? So the very moment I probably make a commitment without considering the other partners and players in the market, in the same compound, it's actually I'm actually losing because I don't control that. I give an example of a campaign of we're going to deliver in 30 minutes. We get excited about that, but the different components that are in there are what takes the idea not to be true or not to be live and come to life. So I think considering different partners that you have in a B2C sector is actually works. And in different courses, we've got to act like project managers. You be given a project to manage, and you completely out of that. It's not within your capabilities, right? You're probably managing a tech project, and you've never done tech in your life. So what you have to do is actually connecting the dots, and then making people understand each other, right? And in a B2C, it's all about playing with these dots and making sure that they connect, somewhere. And then, of course, differentiating your business versus your personal life, because usually that customer who feels like they're your boss, and they actually are, because they're the ones running everything. The very moment you associate yourself fully business and on a personal level, people usually take it on a personally, be like, no, well, this guy is actually not entitled to do this and this and this. But I believe separating these two is actually one of the good things to run a B2C.
B2C business. Which one do you think is better, B2B or B2C?
B2B.
B2B? Why is that?
Definitely.
Why is that?
You probably need 5 contracts a year. Of course, you've got to put a lot of effort to get 1 contract. But the very moment you probably get 5 a year, be like, yeah, I can actually have my holidays and be off for about 2 months.
Yeah.
But in a B2C, not only you work probably more than 10 hours a day, but you work every day, every single day. But I think every type of business comes with cons and pros. And I'm probably saying B2B because I haven't really ventured into that.
Yeah. Oh, it's painful, man. It's painful. You're a very smart guy. Very good background, right? Everybody, your family members, as you mentioned, will tell you, hey, go get a job. What's happening here? You chose to become an entrepreneur. Do you think entrepreneurship is for everybody?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Do I think it's even for me? I don't know, because I feel like I really haven't exhausted or even done half of what I think an entrepreneur should do. We all face the same thing, right? There's a morning you wake up and it feels very much demotivated. Like, oh my goodness, yesterday was a very bad day. In terms of business, in terms of on a personal level and all, I just don't want to get it done today. So the very moment you understand that's where the journey starts. But I think not all of us are going to be in the same sector, right? And people say that the future is about the moment you be an entrepreneur, you have all figured out and all, but it's not true. It's definitely not true, because I have people in my team who have bright ideas than I do, right? But they're not entrepreneurs. They're not who I am now. They are employed and all, but then them being employed is actually contributing more in the company level and actually on the whole ecosystem than them being entrepreneurs, right? And I think for an ecosystem to be vibrant, we've got to have people who still do the 8 to 5 work, and then still contributes to this. But entrepreneurs, all of us being there, I wish we could, but to me, it's about the spirit. It's about if I was meant to look at the definition of entrepreneurship, it's actually not about owning a company. It's about knowing your deliverables and putting in what it takes to actually deliver those. So I believe that the 9 to 5 work as well still need to be done by entrepreneurs, because the moment you're not delivering, you're not contributing to the whole thing. So it gets even harder if you now doing your own thing, because if you're not delivering enough as it should, with less deliverables, it's going to be more painful if you're the one actually creating your own deliverables. And in this doing that, we have within the team of creating your own KPIs. So I usually don't set KPIs for most of my head of departments. We see they create them, the deliverable themselves, and then we discuss and look at the achievement of these. So I think entrepreneurship starts with that. And but going back to the question, when I say no, but it's actually a yes, my different aspect. We all can be entrepreneurs, but then it doesn't mean that we all have to be business owners and all. We be entrepreneurs in our own roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. Albert, somebody's in Africa, somewhere, listening to this conversation, and they're like, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to create a solution. I have a job or I'm unemployed, but I want to do something with my life. And entrepreneurship seems very appealing to me. What would be your piece of advice to this young person?
Look, I think entrepreneurship starts with it's like baby steps, right? So you don't achieve a 5 years plan within a month, right? So you start with very small steps, right? You start by solving issues around you, right? If you look at, if you're probably employed and you look at the journey from your home to the office, I'm sure you could find very small things, very small details to actually start with, right? So entrepreneurship starts with solving those small issues, and then the business idea actually comes from that. Probably if you're looking at business like an e-commerce of delivering and all, you start by fulfilling that need of delivering, and then the whole business idea comes out of that. But then, you've got to be realistic with yourself. Don't over-expect. Plan for the best, but also still prepare for, the worst case scenario, because it actually happens quite often. So to me, this is if you're probably employed and you want to start something, to me, you shouldn't quit your job right now. Actually start building something, because most of the time, if you're employed, you're probably working a couple of hours, but then you can't start working on your own thing because you still have time to do that. Being employed and you want to start something, start as small as you can. Start as small as you can. Talk to people. Grab ideas of what actually people would want to see different in your environment, in your workspace, or probably your neighborhood. And, start with that. The very moment people see that you actually try and solve something and you're passionate about it, then, the more ideas and the more business partnerships and all, people believe in you when they actually see you doing something. They don't really believe in ideas until, it comes to life. Start small, do something very small. And when people see actually that you're a little bit involved in that, the growth is quite faster than when it's in ideation level.
I like to understand the founder behind the innovation. So how would your best friend describe you in 3 words?
I'm that type of guy who loves working at night. So the first one is actually a night person. You didn't be surprised seeing emails at 2 a.m. and all. I don't expect you to respond them, right? But it sometimes makes it quite easy for me, to do such. And I'm also usually described as a random person. I'm very much random, and this we might be on a podcast, and when we get out of this room, and I don't have a fully packed agenda, and I have a friend who's actually going for hiking in Bisoke or Musanze, I'd be like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. I have when in my free time, I do random things. I don't like planning for activities in my free time. That's number 2, and then number 3, I like gathering. I like gathering with people. It's very hard to find me probably alone or watching a movie or something in my free time. I'll really use my free time and being around my friends and doing activities that are sort of relaxing and all. So I'm that type of guy who actually brings most of the times together my friends, and they know that if I probably haven't called in 2-3 months, then there's something probably wrong with me, because I'm the one who literally connects most of them at the same time.
Yeah. Albert, thank you very much.
Thank you, too.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.